So some this is essentially the surrounding areas. I didn't find anyone any close. There was no food parties that I looked, unless someone ran away quite fast. There was some puncture right above my table, like in the lumbar column, and almost fine. Again, as I could notice, there was nothing really else other than the cold sensation, which, by the way, granted me from finishing eating my nuggets. As you see, most of it's still there, and that's when I count it's another drug. Need water. With cups, actually. Where am I gonna get cups? Well, you think it would come? Again, look in my bag. I saw the thing, but don't saw anything else weird. So, still need a cup. And it's close up. Now I'm feeling doesn't share that. I got a cup. Get to finish drinking my Coca-Cola. Now this. The more you know from the song. I'm gonna see if I can manage to finish eating. If I manage to finish eating by myself, then I would at least drink in this cup of Coca-Cola. And then after that, but if they're gonna close this thing, yeah, then I'm using the coffee. Everything in the water bottle, by the way. Again, nobody else around, just like in the morning. Where do you think that this is coming from? And you see what they did, right? Again, they put their interests directly in opposition to someone else's. If, for some reason, this is not indeed coming from that conditioning. Who is the most interested one to expose that? So much, man. As I was talking to I'm boy on the phone, and surrounded by walking and so that's what it is. So what? Listen about this, I'm sampling this as well. Is that on the food or is it in the air? You can test the food and you can test the air. Might as well also on the toxin. And for some reason you cannot test it. Who would be the most interested parties? And just proving the other. Well, proving the other argument. Not disproving, because proving the other argument disproves theirs. The argument they're the one doing. Now again, this is fundamentally defensive. I'm not going out there to film vehicles or pressuring them or feeling that they face very close by to do something. Even yesterday, they came very close to me. At the same time, I started feeling even worse than I was feeling before. And only then I start doing it. As a matter of fact, there's a good example yesterday. When someone didn't do that, and I didn't do anything else. Information on fire stay inside of this. Things ain't false, but they gave great signs of it, so laying the file for you is a possibility, but I'm not gonna keep being intrusive for no reason. The other one, what's inside the guy? The other one's the drug guy. Sat right next to me in an empty restaurant. At the exact same time, he started feeling sick for something that was on him before. And this was literal day when they were throwing stuff in the air to cause me pain. And that's a pretty big deal. So, and that's the response. Have you listened to that? The laughter? What? As it turns out, I don't find it funny. Matter of fact, I couldn't tell us what they find funny. I can't that I shoot the price I was thinking yesterday and not thinking now. Again, I don't lie. Which also is another thing. If they stop doing the crime, immediately that will be known because I don't lie. I could lie to say, but I don't do that. So that's another excuse that they no longer have. So again, when you're accused of something that you're actually doing, why would any judge, real cop, lawyer, anyone else tell you? That's nothing, right? That's some questions to ask. Anyway, here's the video of this song. Once I flip now, it's not going to show anymore. That's what I have to do to see that little symbol. Because if I map in the file, it's going to change the cable, then I stop. Someone has like close to me. Not telling anything yet. I didn't know who it was. Yeah, I'm just trying to finish reading here. That's basically also correct. It's not just something they're doing. They're not like stealing food from the neighbors. They are throwing drugs on a human being. They intend to cause so much pain. And the guy's not going to be able to actually function anymore. That's not like a casual run-of-the-mill, just, throwing something they have caused this debate. Even with this, something that they throw me, it wasn't that. It caused serious lacerations on my skin. We could see the blood running down. So, why is that the case? Well, because they don't get touched by what they do. That's why they don't like me, and I shrug. I don't care if they like me or not. I'm not choosing them not liking me, choosing them using drugs on me. So they really kept escalating to this. The point is, that's the reason why they won't have any workplaces. And you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. You arrive into the situation. So now you have them throwing drugs in front of the station. Now you have them assaulting me at night, as you saw yesterday happening. That was before that is ungiven to you. That is them doing all that bizarre stuff. Tampering with this as well, but that whole context doesn't live up to the tortures and the programs that they do. As I said, if it's documented, it's going to be given to you in the best liability. And you get trusted. What they're doing much better than they do.
Tá precisando de alguma coisa? Como é que tá tudo bem?
No geral, faz um conhecimento.
Tá bom. Fica com Deus, tá?
And again, this is important. Of all the things you already know what them should be, are the things you don't like. I don't know if you're involved or not. without saying responsibility. That comes from Europeans and Americans that you can buy away our problems is people that Americans different bootstraps and stuff. The channel is, I don't know if they call it or not, so called it as important news things and say that many of the things that seem to grasp from the straws because they have nothing else to grasp for. So what is actually funny like that? They also that before, it's not the same ones that are now. Those people are not the same ones that were there when I was showing the indications before. They went out, and when they went out, they were hiding behind the pillar and then moving out, doing all sorts of weird shit. Also capturing the other part. And those are different things. Necessary for that. But I don't beg. So. Instead, what I want to finish eating the food that I already paid for, which they're trying to interfere, but for incentives and then trying to consume it. Not them, someone. Kind of a broken record at this point because it reaches at the time it got this problem. That's where we are. Which we say again, it's not big ass in the way that things are done these days. You think that's how art is expect people to believe that right here will tell it. The table to mind the album up front. The table's over. Actually, no. You can straight at me. Oh, by the way, they'll be tapping that to each other. As a matter of fact, they're copying this and then we're publishing it. I've said before several times. They answer that if it's something that they consider pleasant, when they don't straight up lie, which also they do quite often. They relay it, and if it's something that they don't like, particularly, they just hide it away or destroy it, because they do that so many times. And you think they do the same thing that I do, which is no matter what, everything that's to the file like this, and they could have deleted that if they wanted to, then you think that was I say I really need a meal, I'm very hungry because I couldn't eat my food, which is the absolute truth, by the way, because it didn't let me eat my food, because it was something that just stopped me. I had the thing to do with offering me an extra meal. Not that I would ask anyway, because that would be really right, and I couldn't do that. But the point is, that's the point. Well, even if it was, again, something from American, or European, or anyone from this free world mentality of buying way out of situations of buying friendship, which is something that people in Europe and the US and other places have been doing for quite some time, quite longer and quite better than they do. I also have way more money to expose it. It's something that I do intend to exploit in a career that way. By essentially, for every situation in the future, throwing international funds against local groups. So, as I said before, that's the basis for those UN entities that I was mentioning. I'm going to be paying attention. Scary. Like this, right? Standing like that next to me and check up this for you for sure. Which is beautiful, given I was talking about, so let me finish. So, you want to have a situation of local groups for array. The idea is we're going to use international personnel and people to deal with local problems. You're going to get a lot of support from central government and even big nations like India and other places like this because it deals with corruption in the macro scale, which doesn't beneficiate the central government at all. Quite the contrary, we think it's done. And done for free, so long as they follow some random human rights proposals and some mission thing that the right does. So they literally lose nothing in the process of having German expansion because it's like literally the principle of ground force in the movement. You have a small, tiny problem to solve, and you find that with so much force, they will squash it very easily without any loss at all. Again, with ground force. So not only is that something, but it's something that really does work that we can use to make the world a better place. Again, not that it's done for the so we're talking about anything from human trafficking, genital mutilation, whatever, to all sorts of problems that are huge problems. Many of those big nations that simply don't have the resources because they do. Technically, they apply that to their government. The government apply that to the mayor. Except the government and mayor is extremely corrupt, so they actually don't get the good done to the people. Because those institutions will be essentially owned by the government and with international status like embassy. They can receive people that want to vote for them directly. So you can bypass all that crap. And many things you already apply to. Like, for instance, if you have victims of domestic abuse, you don't send them home to the abuser. This is already true for civilized countries, but it's not true for everywhere. So how do you expect someone to actually denounce child abuse and child molestation if they know that they're going to have to go back to the abuser hours later? And this has the same issue with the problem. Again, some of those things already exist, they're just not practiced. And for the most part, they're new in practice because they're known, they're not practiced because most of them are corrupt. All those things are also money and resources, and they don't pay that. Also, that being international, most of those people have no stakes locally, and most importantly, they are unbribable. Most of those guys are ideologists. They're not in that for to make money, they're in that to work for different people. It's not a thing. Makes it much more expensive for them to be bribed than anyone else. Overwhelming because, again, several reasons that I help out again. And with the umbrella of the UN, and I offer great deal of help. Again, it's not just about the ideas, it's about the execution, it's not details, which is why it's excellent. Meanwhile, I'm taking notes of the food that I eat with cheese, we didn't know any drugs in it. The sheer disparities of things and now, this is not torture, again, that's one thing. It's still sedative. They're sedative. Because too much passed out. Now, I don't know. It's going to be a question mark. And the thing would be honest. TB tested. So, but basically the point there is it's fighting, not going to be acting like revolutionaries. Not trying to start revolution in the country, which means that the government doesn't want you out. They're going to want you basically helping out with small guys, kind of like nurses and small business to do throughout history. So they're quite welcome. Kind of like humanitarian groups in Africa, except that we're something way more institutionalized than that. And also not for such basic demands, talking about more complex ones. And trying to avoid that hole. Because for instance, if you enter healthcare, it's a black hole. You're going to be flooded the entire time, you're never going to solve anything. You have to work out some details. Yeah, and there's a couple of those black holes that if you jump into it, it just destroys any level of productivity you can have. because the sheer number of people, right? But that's not the point. Just because you're not doing it doesn't mean it's not out. You can offer resources to local governments, local hospitals, and marketplaces that can like that. You can provide infrastructures, materials, and oversee corruption files. If you see them giving an infrastructure in a hospital company that is taking 3 times the money to deliver hospital side, you just deliver that both to the press and to the central government, which will have every interest in stop that and take the credit. I mean, they're not going to be doing that just out of the charity to their hearts, but they're going to be taking the credit. You don't care about that. You don't need the credit. They didn't like you. It's just about essentially getting the some problem. At the end of the day, you'd have the again, I said there's a couple things to solve, but there are a couple staples. Press being present is always a core point of struggle getting some type of money just to protect the embassy itself. And that is not to do with people, even government forces, that's to do with you, well, that's right, you're not a minor family group, gangs, etc. Because then they don't rely on the police to protect them. Itself and being an embassy, you already have the right to do that anyway. That's not a big problem. I'm going to move out. It's just a protection. And so I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about the good to protect. So, yeah. But the price, by a long shot, for me to say. And they're going to negotiate with many of those people contracts because if possible, they're going to receive first news on many of those things at the price of having a probably income of some volunteer or someone that wants to do that, paid very little in exchange for the possibility of amassing major news that they can relay like home. You watch some of those local news and they are quite pathetic to have news services being able to broadcast sometimes fake worthy news that they only figured out because of that. They're going to make way more money than that than they would ever pay for the sample itself. All those employees, one cameraman and one reporter, about it. And to have those at least the major capitals and major groups. Again, as I said, there's a bunch of details and other things that I cannot stress here. Just a casual point. And I have to actually use the base structure that. Because this one is close up and allow the whole point to be particularly if they do something medically. Cannot guarantee that, but not so number. It would be quite straightforward. As for the rest, and most of it has to be tossed out directly, but again, let's say capitalism is, you have tons of companies, venture capitalists, people who want to just save money on taxes, like rich people pay for it and council taxes. Government doesn't do that already. These classic projects that have traditions and salvation in the world and other major things that are for your country, and that's why it's important to get the umbrella and because it provides for legitimacy more than anything else. And it's with the reason on the boss. And anyway, most more details for one for that we don't have to. And again, when I say that, to discount taxes, it is the normal way, the way that they already do. And I mean, again, this is not revolutionary in any form or fashion. It's essentially to using the resources you already have to apply in the right way to accomplish great gains and again, pretty much the same export, the catch is essentially the difference in purchasing power, or difference in plus instructing individuals that are completely unrelated to the matters that they're dealing with. But that wouldn't be enough if they can be bribed, because they don't have a lot of people that go there for less than ideal reasons. The fact is, by being, you're going to need a lot of screening, a lot of stuff also going to be expressed there. For this, which is why we want to actually have a unit. Just to prevent the surge to showing up before they even have the idea to do so. Basically, we need to make it way less advantageous financially for them to join, to infiltrate in and do anyone else. Not the case. By the way, those criminals will likely be commenting what I'm saying to you, which is an important point for you to realize. And to be fair, as I said, there's not much else that I'm saying. And for most things, you're just hearing this country talk, so you got to listen to that. Also, I am finishing this. Also, the artist can take this point to use the UN umbrella, which prevents years, particularly in smaller countries, not probably for smaller countries like Pakistan, etc. There are those very legitimate elected presidents to be afraid that you'll be using that as a way to get into the country. And UN things usually sue these deals better, because there are much better ways to do that. Of course, similar countries do that and this. Now that they'd be smart enough to realize it. Don't get me wrong, I don't think those ways are proper, but, to be afraid of that when that doesn't make much sense is just silly. The only reason they do that is because they're not the ones suffering from the problems that the low people are. They're very comfortable with their house. And you suffer easily at all. Have a beautiful meantime.